Hello and welcome to the Cultured Bumpkin live reading, live poetry reading. I like to do this at night around bedtime. I'll have people come on here and onto my TikTok, and I'll just read some poems, and it's always a fun time. So I try to keep things pretty chill, and I just take requests on YouTube and TikTok. So for the first one, I'm going to read William Butler Yeats. And let me get my live friends on TikTok going here. All right. William Butler Yeats. I like to shop used bookstores, and I got this one from a used bookstore. Why should not old men be mad? Why should not old men be mad? Some have known a likely lad that had a sound fly fisher's wrist turned to a drunken journalist. A girl that knew all Dante once lived to bear children to a dunce. A Helen of social welfare dream climb on a wagonette to scream. Some think it matter of course that chance should starve good men and bad advance, that if their neighbors figured plain, as though upon a lighted screen, no single story would they find of an unbroken, happy mind, a finish worthy of the start. Young men know nothing of this sort. Observant old men know it well. And when they know what old books tell, and that no better can be had, know why an old man should be mad. Why Should Not Old Men Be Mad by William Butler Yeats. Let's see. Death, William Butler Yeats. Nor dread nor hope attend a dying animal. A man awaits his end, dreading and hoping all. Many times he died, many times rose again. A great man in his pride, confronting murderous men, casts derision upon supersession of breath. He knows death to the bone. Man has created death. William Butler Yeats, Death. The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of spiritus mundi troubles my sight. Swanee B, good to have you. Yep, reading some Yeats. Thanks for popping in. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony deep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches toward Bethlehem to be born. The Second Coming. On a political prisoner. Excuse me. She that but little patience knew from childhood on had now so much a gray gull lost its fear and flew down to her cell, and there alit, and there endured her fingers' touch, and from her fingers ate its bit. Did she, in touching that lone wing, recall the years before her mind become a bitter, an abstract thing, her thought some popular enmity, blind and leader of the blind, drinking the foul ditch where they lie? Excuse me. When long ago I saw her ride under Ben Bulben to the meet, the beauty of her countryside, with all youth's lonely wildness stirred, she seemed to have grown clean and sweet, like any rock-bred sea-born bird. Sea-born or balanced on the air, when first it sprang out of the nest upon some lofty rock to stare upon the cloudy canopy, while under its storm-beaten breast cried out the hollows of the sea. No, I am not awake so late. This is very early for me. I rarely go to bed before 4 a.m., but it's good to see you. Easter 1916. Good night, Swanee B. Calabaro, NPH does poetry. I'm not sure what you mean, brother. I do poetry. Easter, William Butler Yeats. I have met them at close of day, coming with vivid faces from counter or desk among gray 18th century houses. I have passed with a nod of the head or polite, meaningless words, or have lingered a while and said polite, meaningless words, and thought before I had done of a mocking tale or a gibe to please a companion around the fire at the club, being certain that they and I but lived where motley is worn. All changed, changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. That woman's days were spent in ignorant goodwill, her nights in argument until her voice grew shrill. What voice more sweet than hers when, young and beautiful, she rode to harriers? This man had kept a school and rode our winged horse. This other, his helper and friend, was coming into his force. He might have won fame in the end, so sensitive his nature seemed, so daring and sweet his thought. This other man I had dreamed a drunken, vainglorious lout. He had done most bitter wrong to some who are near my heart, yet I number him in the song. He too has resigned his part in the casual comedy. He too has been changed in his turn, transformed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. Hearts with one purpose alone through summer and winter seem enchanted to a stone, to trouble the living stream, the horse that comes from the road, the rider, the birds that change from cloud to tumbling cloud, minute by minute they change. A cloud, a shadow of cloud on the stream changes minute by minute. A horse hoof slides on the brim, and a horse plashes within it. The long-legged moor hens dive, and hens to moorcocks call. Minute by minute they live, the stones in the midst of all. Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart. Oh, when may it suffice? That is heaven's part, our part to murmur name upon name as a mother names her child, when sleep at last has come on limbs that had run wild. What is it but nightfall? No, no, not night, but death. Was it needless death after all? For England may keep faith for all that is done and said. We know their dream enough to know they dreamed and are dead. And what if excess of love bewildered them till they died? I write it out in a verse. MacDonough and McBride and Connolly and Pierce, now and in time to be, wherever green is worn, are changed, changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. Easter, 1916. I'm going to do a little Emily Dickinson. Let's see, what do we got here? And bees as bustling go, One might depart at option from enterprise below. 'Tis sweet to know that stocks will stand when we with daisies lie, that commerce will commence and trades as briskly fly. It makes the parting tranquil and keeps the soul serene, that gentlemen so sprightly conduct the pleasing scene. That is the first infantry crest for the First Infantry Division, U.S. Army. So they were. I was in a cavalry unit, but they were at Omaha Beach at on June 6, 1944. So obviously I wasn't there, but I'm very proud to have been a part of that fraternity, you might say. Still Emily Dickinson here. Nobody knows this little rose. It might a pilgrim be. Did not I take it from the ways and lift it up to thee? Only a bee will miss it, only a butterfly hastening from a far journey on its breast to lie. Only a bird will wonder, only a breeze will sigh. Ah, little rose, how easy for such as thee to die. Oh, if remembering were forgetting, then I remember not. And if forgetting recollecting, how near I had forgot. And if to miss were merry, and to mourn were gay, how very blithe the maiden who gathered these today. Oh, very good. Thank you for your service. Were you on a sub or were you on a like a carrier? That's awesome. There is another sky, ever serene and fair, and there is another sunshine, though it be darkness there. Never mind faded forest, never mind faded forest, Austin, never mind silent fields. Here is a little forest whose leaf is ever green. Here is a brighter garden, were it not, where not a frost has been. In its unfading flowers, I hear the bright bee hum. Prithee, my brother, into my garden come. I gotcha. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, thank you for your service just the same. Awake, ye muses nine, sing me a strain divine, unwind the solemn twine, and tie my valentine. Oh, the earth was made for lovers, for damsel and hopeless swain, for sighing and gentle whispering, in unity made of twain. All things do go a courting in earth or sea or air. God hath made nothing single but thee in his world so fair. On this wondrous sea, sailing silently, ho, pilot, ho! Knowest thou the shore where no breakers roar, where the storm is o'er? In the peaceful west, many the sails at rest, the anchors fast. Thither I pilot thee. Land ho, eternity, ashore at last. I have a bird in spring which for myself doth sing. The spring decoys, and as the summer nears, and as the rose appears, Robin is gone. Yet do I not repine, knowing the bird of mine, though flown, learneth beyond the sea melody new for me, and will return. Fast in safer hand, held in a truer land, are mine, and though they now depart. Oh, my bad. And though they now depart, still got a little further to go. Tell my doubting heart they're mine. In a serener bright, in a more golden light, I see each little doubt and fear, each little discord here removed. Then will I not repine, knowing that bird of mine, though flown, shall in distant tree bright melody for me return. Hey, Nina, how you doing? I haven't told my garden yet, lest that should conquer me. I haven't quite the strength now to break it to the bee. I will not name it in the street, for shops would stare at me, that one so shy, so ignorant, should have the face to die. The hillsides must not know it, where I have rambled so, nor tell the loving forests the day that I shall go, nor lisp it at the table, nor heedless by the way, hint that within the riddle one will walk today. A little short, Emily Dickinson, if you just joined us. Uh, just reading through some Emily Dickinson. And I'll tell you why. My younger brother is in uh, the Army, Special Operations, and he's deployed. And Emily Dickinson is one of his favorite poets. And I just, I naturally feel kind of close to him, kind of missing him right now with all that's going on in the world. And he likes Emily Dickinson. So kind of reading this for him. I often passed the village when going home from school and wondered what they did there and why it was so still. I did not know the year then in which my call would come earlier by the dial than the rest have gone. It's stiller than the sundown, it's cooler than the dawn. The daisies dare to come here, and birds can flutter down. So when you are tired or perplexed or cold, trust the loving promise underneath the mold. Cry, "It's I, take Dolly, and I will enfold." She is one of the good ones. I counted till they danced so their slippers leaped the town, and then I took a pencil to note the rebels down. And then they grew so jolly I did resign the prig, and 10 of my once stately toes are marshaled for a jig. It did not prize me, so I said or thought, she will bestir her pinions, and the nest forgot, traverse broader forests, build in gayer boughs, breathe in ear more modern God's old-fashioned vows. This was but a birdling. What, and if it be one within my bosom, had departed me? This was but a story. What, and if indeed there were just such coffin in the earth, in the heart instead? All right, do another one, and then I'll swap to a different poet, unless somebody has a request. Let's see, what is my favorite? Here's one. My river runs to thee. Blue sea, wilt welcome me? My river waits reply. O sea, look graciously. I'll fetch thee brooks from spotted nooks. Say, sea, take me. Kipling is a fantastic writer. Uh, Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. All right. Hmm. So we've read Dickinson. We've read some William Butler Yeats. The oh, I know what. We're gonna do some sonnets. Shakespeare sonnets. Did you ever look at Wilde's poem I Always Ask For? No, I haven't. Sorry. What's your favorite, Ashley? Song of the Chattahoochee. Now, I get tons of requests, and I do try to read them all, but I don't. I'm a pretty busy fella. I try not to come across that way on lives, but I'm a terribly busy person. But I will. I will. I will. I haven't. I haven't. Yeah. The Last Dickinson. I love that one too. That one is one of my favorites of hers. I really like the A Bird Came Down the Walk. That's another one I really like. And um, what is it? Tell All the Truth, but Tell It Slant. I like that one. Okay. Sonnet 19, William Shakespeare. Devouring time, blunt thou the lion's paws, and make the earth devour her own sweet brood. Pluck the keen teeth from the fierce tiger's jaws, and burn the long-lived phoenix in her blood. Make glad and sorry seasons as thou fleets, and do whate'er thou wilt, swift-footed time, to the wide world and all her fading sweets. But I forbid thee one most heinous crime. O carve not with thy hours my love's fair brow, nor draw lines there with thine antique pen. Him in thy course untainted do allow, for beauty's pattern to succeeding men. Yet do thy worst, old time. Despite thy wrong, my love shall in my verse ever live young. Looking for my other poetry book here. Farewell. Thou art too dear for my possessing, and like enough thou knowest thy estimate. The charter of thy worth gives thee releasing. My bonds in thee are all determinate. For how do I hold thee but by thy granting? And for that riches, where is my deserving? The cause of this fair gift in me is wanting, and so my patient back again is swerving. Thou thyself thou gavest, thy own worth then not knowing, or me, to whom thou gavest it, else mistaking. So thy great gift, upon misprision growing, come home again, on better judgment making. Thus, thus have I had thee, as a dream doth flatter, in sleep a king, but waking no such matter. What potions have I drunk of siren tears, distilled from limbecks foul as hell within, applying fears to hopes and hopes to fears, still losing when I saw myself to win. What wretched errors hath my heart committed, whilst it hath thought itself so blessed ever? How, how, how have mine eyes out of their spheres been fitted in the distraction of this maddening fever? O benefit of ill, now I find true that better is by evil still made better, and ruined by love when it is built anew, grows fairer than at first, more strong, far greater, and I return rebuked to my content, and gain by ill thrice more than I have spent. Yeah, good stuff. Some sonnets there. Let's do Percy Shelley. Let's do maybe one of his we haven't done before. Here is England in 1819. It's Jake, but it ain't Jake from State Farm. What's up, Blue Jeep? An old, mad, blind, despised, and dying king. Princes, the dregs of their dull race, who flow through public scorn, mud from a muddy spring. Rulers who neither see nor feel nor know, but leech-like to their fainting country cling till they drop, blind in blood, without a blow. And people starved and stabbed in the untilled field. An army who liberticide and prey makes as a two-edged sword to all who wield. Golden and sanguine laws which tempt and slay. Religion Christless, godless, a book sealed, a senate, time's worst statute unrepealed, are graves which a glorious phantom may burst to illumine our tempestuous day. He didn't have a very high opinion of his country, I suppose. 1819. That was the year before George III died. So George III was still the king, but he was mad. It mentions an old mad king, and I think about the last 10 years he was so crazy he couldn't even like perform the duties of his office. And so the Prince Edward, who was a real playboy that was always shaking a toe with the ladies, and he didn't care about the government. He was just a true playboy. He was nowhere to be found, and yeah, that was a bad time. Yes, I do. That's what I do professionally, actually. And this is I find this to be great practice, just reading poetry and stuff like that. I appreciate that. Hymn of Pan. From the forests and highlands we come, we come. From the river-girt islands, where loud waves are dumb, listening to my sweet pipings. The wind in the reeds and the rushes, the bees on the bells of time, the birds on the myrtle bushes, the cicale above in the lime, and the lizards below in the grass were as silent as ever old Tumulus was, listening to my sweet pipings. I don't know if I said that right. Liquid Peneus was flowing, and all dark Tempe lay in Pelion's shadow, outgrowing the light of the dying day, speeded by my sweet pipings. The Silene and Sylvans and fawns and the nymphs of the woods and the waves, to the edge of the moist river lawns and the brink of the dewy caves, and all that did then attend and follow were silent with love, as you now, Apollo, with envy of my sweet pipings. I sang of the dancing stars. I sang of the daedal earth and of heaven and the giant wars and love and death and birth. And then I changed my pipings, singing how down the vale of Menelaus, Men, Men, Menalus, sorry, I pursued a maiden and clasped a reed. Gods and men, we were all deluded thus. It breaks in our bosom, and then we bleed. All wept, as I think both ye now would, if envy or age had not frozen your blood at the sorrow of my sweet pipings. You can uh, email me. My email is in my link tree. Jake Phillips 116. I thought you were an English professor and did voiceover work for fun. Nope, I am a voiceover actor and a complete layman when it comes to literature. I just really like it. And I didn't get into it till later in life, post college. Still on Percy Shelley. Art thou pale for weariness? Art thou pale for weariness of climbing heaven and gazing on the earth, wandering companionless among the stars that have a different birth, and ever changing like a joyless eye that finds no object worth its constancy? Here is Ode to the West Wind. O wild west wind, thou breath of autumn's being, thou from whose unseen presence the leaves dead are driven like ghosts from an enchanter fleeing, yellow and black and pale and hectic red, pestilence stricken multitudes, O thou who chariotest to their dark wintry bed the winged seeds, where they lie cold and low, each like a corpse within its grave, until thine azure sister of the spring shall blow her clarion o'er the dreaming earth, and fill driving sweet buds like flocks to feed in air with living hues and odors plain and hill. Wild spirit, which art moving everywhere, destroyer and preserver, hear, O hear, thou on whose stream, mid the steep sky's commotion, loose clouds like earth's decaying leaves are shed, shook from the tangled boughs of heaven and ocean. Angels of rain and lightning, there are spread on the blue surface of thine airy surge like the bright air uplifted from the head of some fierce Maenad, even from the dim verge of the horizon to the zenith's height, the locks of the approaching storm. Thou dirge of the dying year, to which this closing night will be the dome of a vast sepulchre, vaulted with all thy congregated might of vapors, from whose solid atmosphere black rain and fire and hail will burst. O hear, thou who didst waken from his summer dreams the blue Mediterranean where he lay, lulled by the coil of his crystalline streams, beside a pumice isle of Bay's Bay, and saw in sleep old palaces and towers quivering within the waves' intenser day, all overgrown with azure moss and flowers, so sweet, the sense faints picturing them. Thou, thou for whose path the Atlantic's level powers cleave themselves into chasms, which far below the sea blooms, and the oozy woods which wear the sapless foliage of the ocean know thy voice, and suddenly grow gray with fear, and tremble and despoil themselves. O hear, if I were a dead leaf thou mightest bear, if I were a swift cloud to fly to thee, a wave to pant beneath thy power and share the impulse of thy strength, only less free than thou, O uncontrollable. If even I were as in my boyhood, and could be the comrade of thy wanderings over heaven, as then when to outstrip thy sky speed scarce seemed a vision, I would ne'er have striven as thus with thee in prayer in my sore need. O lift me as a wave, a leaf, a cloud. I fall upon the thorns of life. I bleed. A heavy weight of hours has chained and bowed one too like thee, tameless and swift and proud. Make me thy lyre, even as the forest is. What if my leaves are falling like its own? The tumult of thy mighty harmonies will take from both a deep autumnal tone, sweet though in sadness. Be thou spirit fierce, my spirit. Be thou me, impetuous one. Drive my dead thoughts over the universe like withered leaves to quicken a new birth, and by the incantation of this verse scatter, as from an unextinguished hearth, ashes and sparks, my words among mankind. Be through my lips to unawakened earth the trumpet of a prophecy. O wind, if winter comes, can spring be so far behind? That is Percy Shelley, Ode to the West Wind. Yeah, isn't that good? Okay, let's see. Here is To the Moon. Roll Tide. Yeah, whatever, dude. Art thou pale for weariness of climbing heaven and gazing on the earth, wandering companionless among the stars that have a different birth, and ever changing, like a joyless eye that finds no object worth its constancy? Thou chosen sister of the spirit that gazes on me till in thee it pities. To the Moon, Percy Shelley. How's about um, Elizabeth Barrett Browning? Wait a second. Is that John Cannon? Dang it. You would love that, wouldn't you? Okay. Uh 13 Foxman and me we were in Iraq together way back in the day. That's funny. How you doing, man? It's good to see you. All right. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like just reading poetry and stuff, and it yeah, calms the nerves, powers you down for bed. It's good stuff. So here is Elizabeth Barrett Browning, My Heart and I. Enough. We're tired, my heart and I. We sit beside the headstone thus, and wish that name were carved for us. The moss reprints more tenderly the hard types of the mason's knife, as heaven's sweet life renews earth's life, with which we're tired, my heart and I. You see, we're tired, my heart and I. We dealt with books, we trusted men, and in our own blood drenched the pen as if such colors could not fly, and walked too straight for fortune's end. We loved too true to keep a friend. At last we're tired, my heart and I. How tired we feel, my heart and I. We seem of no use in the world. Our fancies hang gray and uncurled about men's eyes indifferently. Our voice, which thrilled you so, will let you sleep. Our tears are only wet. What do we do here, my heart and I? So tired, my heart and I. It was not thus in that old time when Ralphs sat with me neath the lime to watch the sunset from the sky. Dear love, you're looking tired, he said. I'm smiling at him, shook my head. 'Tis now we're tired, my heart and I. So tired, my heart and I. Though now none takes me on his arm to fold me close and kiss me warm, till each quick breath end in a sigh of happy languor. Now alone we lean upon this graveyard stone, uncheated, unkissed, my heart and I. Tired out we are, my heart and I. Suppose the world brought diadems to us, crusted with loose gems of powers and pleasures. Let it try. We scarcely care to look at even a pretty child or God's blue heaven. So we feel so tired, my heart and I. Yet who complains, my heart and I? In this abundant earth, no doubt, is little room for things worn out. disdain them, break them, throw them by. And if before the days grew rough, we once were loved, used well enough, I think we fared, my heart and I. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, My Heart and I. The I really like listening to others read poetry too. And if on YouTube, obviously, you would want to follow my channel because I have a lot of stuff on there and a lot longer things that I don't post here just because they're really long, short stories and longer poems. Like Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, it's like 30 minutes long, that kind of thing. Now, people that um, hey Victoria, what's going on? That I like listening to are um, Jeremy Irons is an amazing poetry reader. You know, Scar from the original Lion King. Um, the Morgan Freeman has done a lot of poetry. He's got an amazing voice, of course, but he does a lot of poetry. Um, Lynn Redgrave, amazing. Um, Helen Mirren, amazing poetry reader. Helena Bonham Carter, amazing. Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Hiddleston, John Lithgow um, is an amazing. He loves poetry. So yeah, there's a lot of great poetry readings out there. Um, yeah, he's a fantastic narrator. Fantastic. One thing he really likes doing is T.S. Eliot. So he's done T.S. Eliot's, the quartets or whatever. Um, the Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock and The Wasteland, things like that. Jeremy Irons he's amazing. So, yeah. Mm, all right, here is another Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and it's called um, um, Hey, Janet, it's good to see you. Past and Future by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. My future will not copy fair my past on any leaf but heaven's. Be fully done, supernal will. I would not fain be one whose satisfying thirst and breaking fast upon the fullness of the heart at last saith no grace after meat. My wine hath run indeed out of my cup, and there is none to gather up the bread of my repast scattered and trampled. Yet I find some good in earth's green herbs, and streams that bubble up clear from the darkling ground, content until I sit with angels before better food. Dear Christ, when thy new vintage fills my cup, this hand shall shake no more, nor that wine spill. Um, yeah, so Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Past and Future. Yeah, Southerners can be very good storytellers, but I mean, like, I think every culture has its own storytelling section, and I love to hear a story, a storyteller. Like, I have a friend who is he's a Choctaw Indian, and a lot of Native American tribes, like storytelling, oral storytelling is a great tradition, and so like there's just some great storytelling, like, in different Indian tribes, and then, you'll see I don't know, I think storytelling is just an interesting art. Ode to Leaves by Ted Hughes. See, did I read that the other day? Whoops. Um, yeah, we were just, discussing having a it's called Just Leaves or Leaves? Okay, because I googled Just Leaves, that didn't work either. Let's see if we have any see if anything comes up for that. But I was talking about, having a sort of a pre-planned original poetry reading. So if, you could send poems to me by email, and then we would do a live, like, kind of arrange it beforehand, but say, whatever, um, have a few people, because usually there's always a handful of people that, would like to hear their poem sort of read out loud by someone else. And so we could have sort of an original poetry reading, and I think that would be a lot of fun. I mean, we could do other stuff too, but it would be fun to sort of be be in a good, supported, supportive atmosphere with other people, and everyone sort of enjoy each other's poetry in through narration. Poetry Foundation don't have it. Yeah, so, I'll have to think about that. So any writers, if you are, if you have poetry you've written and you'd like, you wanna hear me read it, or, you know, that kinda thing, I think Victoria, have a great night. Thanks for swinging by. Um, yeah, if you have, poetry, email me. Jake, in my YouTube chat, here is my email. Uh, oops, oops, oops. And yeah, you can, I know you've got it, Janet, but you can email me, and we'll um, definitely do it. Yeah, yeah, something like that. I'm definitely not a singer, but I could, if you wanted them read like a poem, then we definitely could do that for sure. So that's two of y'all right here. And then Joy over here on TikTok, she mentioned that as well. And then I know at least two other guys that I've read for on lives or on my profile. Anyway, we could have a grand old time, I think. Have a good many things. I think a lot of people write stuff, and it's kind of hard to find people to appreciate it. And so you just sort of sit on it and don't tell anybody. And so when you come across a community where they're like, "Oh, that's great. You write. That's amazing. Let's hear it." That's always fun. Metrics of poetry, I learned it unconsciously, and I think the best way of learning poetry unconsciously is reading the classics. King James Bible, uh, Christopher Marlowe, um, Shakespeare, Milton, when English was at its peak, right? That's um, when you read when you read that, you read that kind of thing, you will develop a a sense of the rhythm and flow of English, and then later on, um, you can actually inject some music into a script that maybe isn't written that great. Um, Okie dude, man, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you, it's really good to hear you say that. I appreciate it, and thanks for the kind words. I hope that you, uh, can look around and find stuff you like. I really like short stories. I like poetry, and then I like doing stuff like this where you actually interact with each other. I think that's a lot of fun. Let me look that up. Auguries of I don't think I've ever read that one. I'm familiar with some of Blake, but not that one. Uh, Whoops, my phone. If my phone dies, I'm running on YouTube as well, so you can go to my YouTube channel if you need to. Honored and terrified. Well, I think that's what's cool about it is the people that are in here. They didn't bring a basket of tomatoes. You know what I mean? They're there with their own stuff, and maybe they're a little scared too. And so it's a time of mutual support and appreciation for each other. Because I guarantee you, you're not the only one that is, um, feeling like, oh, I'm showing this. And I mean, if you're an artist, you're always a little terrified, I think. This one is a little long. Usually I try to keep them kind of short. This one's pretty long for a live. Yeah, can we do something a little shorter? Got anything that you would like that's maybe a little shorter than this? Yandel. Uh, Singing lessons. I have paused them for now, but they were doing really good. I was learning a lot, and also it's really helped me with my breathing in voiceover, which is why I was even doing it in the first place. I don't really have aspirations of being a singer, but I wanted to learn to breathe better and um, that kind of thing. Help with my vocal development. Samantha, what's going on? Good to see you. Uh, my heart leaps up. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, William Wordsworth. My heart leaps up. My heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky. And so is it when my life began. So is it now I am a man. So be it when I shall grow old, or let me die. The child is father of the man, and I could wish my days to be bound, and I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural piety. Wordsworth is another great one. You mentioned how do you how do you find rhythm or whatever the metrics? Read somebody like Wordsworth. That really helps too. Those older classic um, guys and gals they were really something. I think they had a mastery of the language that a lot of most people don't have anymore. Um, But yeah, if you're a writer, I think it's good to or an artist of any kind, it's good to remember you're not the only one that's scared to show your work. You sort of like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Yeah, they laugh at you probably. Um, and when you just kind of say, you know what, I like this, I'm happy with it. So I really don't care what this oaf thinks about it. You know what I mean? And I think that makes it sort of for me, that's how I deal with it. Like if this person doesn't like it, I don't I don't value their opinion about probably anything. They're not if it was a if I, was doing a narration and Morgan Freeman pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, you sound so dead and lifeless and I'm not feeling anything and I think you should try to whatever." I would listen to that. But if it's just some dude off the internet that's like, "That don't make no sense. You should do it like this." Well, I don't care what he thinks. I'm just gonna do it how I want. And that's the same with writing. You just gotta be like, I don't care what y'all think. I'm gonna write what I like." How about another William Wordsworth? And this is most sweet it is. Most sweet it is with unuplifted eyes to pace the ground, if path be there or none, while a fair region round the traveller lies, which he forbears again to look upon. Pleased rather with some soft ideal scene, the work of fancy, or some happy tone of meditations, slipping in between the beauty coming and the beauty gone. If thought and love desert us, from that day let us break off all commerce with the muse. With thought and love, companions of our way, whate'er the senses take or may refuse, the mind's internal heaven shall shed her dews of inspiration on the humblest lay. Actually, more more redneck accent. Okay. You just got to it just got to come out. You know what I mean? It just has to sort of um, it just got to come out. I am an absolute redneck in real life. I'm from a swamp in Mississippi. I curl my hat brim. I I like smoked meat. Like I'm not um I'm a redneck. So I'm not saying like I'm better than a redneck. But usually when I put on a redneck accent, I'm making fun of a dumb person. It's usually how that goes. Prologue to Romeo and Juliet. What's up, TikTok, Tori? We could definitely do that. Um, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and it sounds like home to me too. But when I was in the army, I had to like I had to, my platoon sergeant said, like, you have to not talk like that. Nobody can understand you. He was from Montana. And then we had guys from New Hampshire all the way to California. And he was like, nobody can understand you. If people are if we're in a bad situation over there in Iraq and you know you're doing that on the radio, we're all gonna get killed. And I was like, man, that is tough. So I started working on so I like started trying to enunciate that that's the best voiceover coaching I've ever gotten is, hey, you know, stop talking like that. And nope, there's nothing wrong with being a redneck. Like I said, I'm a redneck. I think I'm awesome, but like it's fun to make fun of too. Rednecks from a swamp can be a good, um, you know, they are can be among the best and the worst. Okay, prologue to Romeo and Juliet. But I found like a lot of the time, especially, and I will say African American guys from that are not from the South. Um, yeah, we could do that one from Macbeth. When I was in the army, I've found that hey Charity, that a lot of African American guys that are not from the South, kind of just make assumptions about you know white guys, and it's vice versa too. I'm not saying I that white folks have made that thing famous anyway. So they automatically think a white guy from Mississippi that talks like this probably don't like black people. You know what I mean? And so the first day I came to my unit and there was one black guy and they were like, "Hey, this is Lieutenant Phillips. He's from Mississippi." And I was like, "Hey y'all." And before I got told to talk properly or whatever, "Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Good to see y'all." And I introduced myself, and I could just see him tighten up. He was like, and anyway, I got to know him, and he he was like, "Okay, okay, never mind." But we had a laugh about it afterwards. But he definitely, he kind of thought if you're from Mississippi and have a thick accent, the then you must not like black people, and that is a big reach. For some people, it might be true, but it's not true for me. I'm like, oh, God's chilling. Now, 13 Fox Man, okay, who I mentioned before, we were in Iraq together. He's African American, and he's a redneck. He's both. That is a I've never seen you not wearing camouflage, whether it's government issue or mossy oak. You are always in a tree stand in camouflage, holding a gun. Also, either government issue or your own, with a scope on it, either government issue or one you mounted yourself. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah. John Cannon, 13 Foxman, right there. We were in Iraq together, and that's a good dude. That is a good dude. My ex-husband was black. He thought we were all on the porch in overalls in Woodland. Some of us are. Okay. Romeo and Juliet prologue. Yeah. Well, on my YouTube, Samantha, I actually do have a redneck series. So it's like redneck Shylock, redneck Macbeth, um, that kind of thing. Okay, so here is Romeo and Juliet, the prologue. Um, So how are we doing these? Do these have to be redneck style, or are we just reading them? Gonna be in the deer stand? Heck yeah, you are. Where else is there to be? Okay. So we're doing prologue and Macbeth. All right. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. the fearful passage of their death-marked love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end not could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage, to which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Intrigued about the redneck style. Okay, so that's you know, I've got it on my YouTube, but two households, both lacking dignity. That's how that would start. Um, all right, so tomorrow and tomorrow. Yeah, so I am, and I'm trying to do uh, like read through the Bible, have do the whole thing as an audiobook. And as a voice actor, and even for people that aren't Christian or don't even like the Bible, they can't deny George Bernard Shaw was a communist, atheist. And yet he said the King James Bible is like the greatest thing in English canon of literature, right? So you have to be familiar with the Bible to be culturally literate. And my channel is The Cultured Bumpkin. If we're rednecks trying to be cultured, you got to at least be familiar with the Bible, whether you like it, whether you believe it. You got to at least know some of the stories, and that way you can understand people's thinking and things like that. And um, yeah, so I do have a lot of that on there. Yeah, the Shylock. I like Shylock because he's such a rascal, and yet he's one of those villains that you're like, okay, well, if he did that to you, I can see why you're so cranky. Um, okay, so here we'll do Redneck Macbeth. Okay, so he his his little servant comes in and says, "My lord, the queen is dead, Lady Macbeth, whatever." And then he says, the redneck says, "She should have died hereafter. There should have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, then is heard no more. It's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing." So there's your redneck Macbeth. Well, my phone is about to give up the ghost. Anybody, if you read the King James Bible, do we know what that means? It's the old classic way of saying it's about to bite the dust. Russ, what's going Russ, what's your last name? Is this Yokohama Russ? Who's this? Oh yeah, I mean but man, good to see you. Good to see you. Be safe. I was just talking to Sammy Randall the other day, and yeah, good to see you, Russ. Take care of yourself. John, good to see you, buddy. Love you. right. Let's see. What do we got? What do we got? Yeah, tons of stuff comes from the King James Bible. You know, holier than thou. That's from Isaiah. There's a lot of stuff like that. I've got a big long list of them. There's probably, I don't know about hundreds, but there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, Roger Miller that did um, you know, now things weren't going that good in Nottingham. That one with the Robin Hood. Anyway, I am going to. No, he did not. But they were both like the the King James Bible came out in 1611, the same week that it was published. A Winter's Tale by Shakespeare started playing at the Globe, and then later that year, The Tempest came out. So like it's the same style. You know what I mean? Um, it's very much. Um, it was going on at the same time, and that was just the peak of the English language. Good deal. Well, it was wonderful to have you, Samantha. Shalom to you and all your loved ones, and I hope you have a wonderful day of baking for the Sabbath for the Shabbat. Anyway, I am out of here. I am powering down. My phone's about to die. Y'all are awesome, and I will talk to you later. So my TikTok's off. My computer's still going on. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read maybe one more. Janet, yeah. If you on this live, I did more of like the same person. Like read Emily Dickinson several in a row. I read William Butler Yeats several in a row. That kind of thing. Some nights I hop around, and then other times I'll stick with the same one. Do longer ones. That kind of thing. Let's see. Let's do one more. I want to do a classic 19th century English, maybe. Mm, how about On Time by John Milton? Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I did several you know, 10, 15 Emily Dickinson poems earlier. On Time by John Milton. This will be my last one. Fly, envious time, till thou run out thy race. Call on the lazy, leaden stepping hours, whose speed is but the heavy plummet's pace, and glut thyself with what thy womb devours, which is no more than what is false and vain, and merely mortal dross. So little is our loss, so little is thy gain. For when as each thing bad thou hast entombed, and last of all thy greedy self consumed, then long eternity shall greet our bliss with an individual kiss, and joy shall overtake us as a flood, when everything that is sincerely good and perfectly divine, with truth and peace and love, shall ever shine about the supreme throne of him to whose happy making sight alone, when once our heavenly guided soul shall climb, then all this earthly grossness quit. Astirred with stars, we shall forever sit, triumphing over death and chance and thee, O time. All righty. Well, have a wonderful night, and uh, Janet, we'll get together about a reading like we talked about. That would be a lot of fun, I think. So, anyway, have a great night. Talk to you later. Good deal. I hope you enjoy the replay. especially if you've been reading, Emily. We read a lot of it. I think it was before you showed up. So, anyway, have a good one.